Nikki is hanging out at a high-end restaurant, just enjoying himself, when his ex, Jess, suddenly walks in. She asks him to pretend to be her boyfriend for a moment, just long enough to dodge a guy nearby who is clearly into her. One thing leads to another. Their small act turns into real conversation, and before they realize it, they have been talking late into the night. The vibe gets warmer, the tension builds, and Jess eventually invites Nikki back to her apartment. But right when things are about to go further, a furious man storms in, Jess's so-called husband, and he immediately points a gun at Nikki. The crazy part is, Nikki does not panic. He stays calm, almost daring the man to pull the trigger, because he already knows what is really going on.
Here, just let him go.
No fucking way, he's fucking dead.
She was gonna be no good to you after that. You'd really be doing me a favor. Cancer. Tumor. I think you should shoot me.
Oh shit! I knew this wasn't gonna fucking work.
You guys suck.
Jess is a con artist, and that husband act is part of her routine. She hires a guy to play the angry spouse, then uses the chaos to scare and squeeze money out of her victims. Nikki even makes it clear that he is on a whole different level compared to Jess. In fact, he spotted her hustle back at the restaurant. She had been deliberately teasing a man at the bar, setting him up so she could lift his wallet. And on the way out, instead of calling her out, Nikki became genuinely intrigued by her skill, so he kept her there, talked with her, and let the night keep going. Then Nikki starts opening up about his own background. He is not just a pickpocket, he has been living in the world of scams for years. For him, this is a craft, and it runs in the family. The talent was passed down from his grandfather to his father, and then to him. But one day when his grandfather and father pulled a massive con, everything went wrong. They got exposed, surrounded, and forced into a last resort plan called the panic button. In that moment, Nikki's father did something brutal. He killed Nikki's grandfather to prove he was not part of the same crew. After hearing all that, Jess wants more. She asks Nikki to teach her how to pickpocket properly, and Nikki starts giving her lessons. He explains that conning is basically a game of focus. People think they are paying attention, but their brains are slow, and once you control where their attention goes, you can take whatever you want. To prove it, Nikki casually steals from Jess again and again, her ring, her watch, her wallet, even random things like a laundry voucher, and even her bag, all without her noticing. In that moment, Jess finally realizes she has been completely outplayed. This is focus. Not long after, Jess is completely hooked. She wants to join Nikki's crew, and Nikki agrees, mainly because he needs a woman on the team. He brings her in and introduces her to his people, including Horst and Farhad. Jess gets tested immediately. They put her in an extremely tight, attention-grabbing dress so wealthy men will get distracted during a street parade. The crew positions themselves around her, and Horst guides everything using subtle hand signals, like scratching his nose when a target is close. And just like that, the pickpocket operation in the middle of a crowd begins. Jess proves she belongs. She is not only fast and clean, she also has instincts, actively spotting high-value targets on her own. Meanwhile, the rest of Nikki's crew is running similar plays in all the best places: airports, gambling spots, luxury hotels, anywhere rich people tend to let their guard down. After taking Jess around to see how everyone works, Nikki and Jess meet up with Farhad, who has just collected a stack of ATM pins using a device he created himself. Then the three of them head to Nikki's headquarters, and it becomes obvious just how big this whole operation is. Nikki is not running a small crew. He has a network of around 30 people. Everyone gets paid their cut, and if someone gets caught, Nikki simply bribes the police to get them released. The stolen items are moved through the black market so they cannot be traced, and that is exactly how Nikki and his crew keep pulling in massive amounts of money. The next morning, the pickpocket operations start again. This time, Jess pretends to be Farhad's wife while they sit and eat at a restaurant. Suddenly, Farhad puts on an act, collapsing as if he is having a heart attack. Panic spreads instantly, everyone's attention shifts to him, and right on cue, Jess and the other crew members who are already positioned around the room move in. In seconds, valuables are quietly lifted while no one is looking. After running mission after mission like this, Nikki throws a party at their office. In just 1 week, they have pulled in $1.2 million. As always, the crew prepares to move locations to stay off the radar. Nikki takes the full $1.2 million with him first, planning to wire everyone's share once they are safely back home. The following day, Nikki and Jess decide to relax by watching a football game from a VVIP area, surrounded by wealthy spectators. Once the game starts, they begin messing around with small bets just for fun. They bet on silly things like whether a guy can catch the hot dog he just bought, or whether a drunk fan will actually follow the crowd wave. The stakes are tiny, just $1, purely for laughs. Then they raise it slightly to a $10 bet, guessing how many men will turn their heads when an attractive woman walks up the stairs. A Chinese billionaire named Liu Yuan, who is sitting right next to them, decides to join in. Nikki guesses 3 people, Jess guesses 8, and Liu Yuan guesses 5. In the end, Jess wins the bet, but it does not stop there. Liu Yuan pushes things further and suggests a much bigger wager, $1,000. Since this new bet revolves around football details that Jess does not understand, she stays out of it. At first, it is still lighthearted fun, but as Liu Yuan keeps insisting on continuing, the excitement ramps up along with the money. Nikki keeps losing, and it starts to mess with his head. Without fully realizing it, he begins doubling the stakes, jumping from 1,500 to 10,000, then 50,000, and even higher. Yet he keeps losing every single time. Seeing how reckless Nikki is becoming, Jess urges him to leave. But Nikki refuses to back down. Completely blinded by pride, he bets all of the money they earned, a total of $1.1 million, including the shares that belong to his entire crew. This time, the bet is simple. They draw cards, and whoever gets the highest number wins everything. Jess can only watch in silence, crushed by how far Nikki has taken this. Liu Yuan draws first and gets a low number, a 5.
Come on.
Feeling confident, Nikki draws his card next, and he loses. Instead of walking away, Nikki demands to double the bet again, raising it to $2 million using his personal savings. At first, Liu Yuan hesitates, knowing this could completely destroy Nikki. But once Nikki explains the next guessing game, Liu Yuan immediately agrees, convinced it will be incredibly easy for him to win. Nikki asks Liu Yuan to quietly choose the jersey number of one player on the field, while Jess has to guess which number Liu Yuan picked. With dozens of players out there, the odds are almost impossible. Winning a bet like this is basically a 1 in a million chance. Tension flares between Nikki and Jess after losing all their money. Emotions run high, and Nikki's eyes are red with frustration. Even so, he insists that Jess keep going. He tells her to trust him, and more importantly, he shows that he fully trusts her. After taking his time, Liu Yuan finally locks in his chosen number. Now it is all on Jess. Liu Yuan even gives Nikki one last chance to stop the bet, knowing how insane the risk is. But Nikki refuses and pushes Jess to make her choice. Jess focuses, scans the field, and then picks a number. Against all odds, it turns out to be the exact number Liu Yuan chose.
I guess. Wait.
Please laugh. So big.
Number 55.
Yes! You're fucking right! Fucking shit!
Oh my god.
Nikki is overwhelmed with joy. After everything that just happened, they actually win in the end. They walk away with a total of $4 million, 4 times the amount Nikki originally brought with him. As they leave, Nikki finally explains to Jess what his crew has really been doing all along. Liu Yuan is not just any gambler. He is a legendary high-stakes bettor from China who loves wagering huge amounts on absolutely anything. Knowing Liu Yuan would attend that football game made him the perfect target. So Nikki and his team began planting subconscious suggestions the moment Liu Yuan arrived at his hotel the night before. The number 55 was everywhere. It appeared as a tattoo on a woman hired for Liu Yuan, on furniture, and on the outfits and accessories worn by hotel staff. It showed up on hanging lights, elevator ads, and even on the clothes of football fans in the lobby. Along the route to the stadium, the same number kept popping up. Protesters, fan outfits, and even an ad on a truck featured it. On top of that, Liu Yuan's taxi driver was Farhad himself, sitting right beside him the whole way. The manipulation did not stop there. Nikki carried a card with the number 55 tucked inside his jacket pocket. Even the song played in the VVIP stadium area contained 124 repetitions of the word Wu, which in Chinese represents the number 5. This was the grand finale. Nikki deliberately chose a seat next to Liu Yuan to pull him into betting. Farhad had already been planted as a fake football player thanks to Nikki's connections with the team, and Jess was presented as someone completely clueless, a harmless outsider, to make the setup feel genuine. Even if Liu Yuan somehow picked the wrong number, Nikki was prepared to keep doubling the bets until they won. He knew exactly how addicted Liu Yuan was to gambling. This was the large-scale con Nikki had been talking about all along. Jess is left completely amazed by how deep and calculated Nikki's plan really was. But then something strange happens. Nikki suddenly changes. He gives Jess her share, $80,000, and without any explanation, he walks away. Horst picks him up, and Nikki disappears from her life just like that. Jess is left behind in tears, confused and heartbroken, with no idea why Nikki would abandon her after everything they had just been through together. 3 years later, the story picks up again in Buenos Aires, Argentina. A powerful car tycoon named Garriga decides to hire Nikki for a high-level con. Garriga's goal is to take down his biggest rival, McEwen, by selling highly sought-after fuel design data known as EXR. The twist is that the data meant to be sold is fake. The idea is simple. Once McEwen's cars use this version, their performance will quietly drop toward the final laps. To pull this off, Nikki is set up to pose as a former technician who once worked for Garriga, someone bitter, dissatisfied, and eager for revenge. From there, he plans to sell the fake EXR data to McEwen, sabotaging Garriga's rival from the inside. Owens, Garriga's right-hand man and personal bodyguard, warns Nikki to execute the plan flawlessly. As usual, the move to win McEwen's trust begins at a lavish party filled with influential guests. But everything changes when Nikki suddenly spots Jess there. To his shock, she is now closely involved with Garriga. Not long after, Jess approaches Nikki outside the main area. She avoids talking about why Nikki disappeared from her life years ago. Overwhelmed by jealousy and stress after seeing Jess with Garriga, Nikki turns to drinking. Owens notices this and firmly reminds him not to let personal emotions ruin the plan. Despite being drunk, Nikki pushes forward. He stages a heated confrontation with Garriga, but it goes too far because his feelings about Jess spill into the act. This all happens right in front of McEwen. The moment works. McEwen takes the bait, and through his associates, Nikki is invited to a private lunch. At that meeting, Nikki offers to sell Garriga's EXR fuel data to McEwen for 3 million euros. After a brief test, McEwen is convinced. The car performs noticeably better, at least at first. The difference between the real and fake EXR is subtle and only becomes obvious near the final laps, when performance drops sharply. Afterward, Nikki secretly meets Jess in a place Garriga would never suspect. He asks her to come back to him, admitting that he truly loves her. But Jess, already hurt and disappointed, refuses. To her, everything Nikki says still sounds like another lie. The next day, Nikki calls Farhad to Argentina to help win Jess back. Farhad explains that Nikki's feelings are real. Since the day they separated, Nikki barely worked for nearly 3 years, only accepting this job with Garriga now. To prove his sincerity, Nikki even gives Jess the luxury necklace she once deeply wanted. Hearing all of this, Jess finally agrees to meet Nikki. He apologizes for leaving her in the past, regardless of his reasons, and tells her he genuinely wants her back. Even so, Jess cannot bring herself to trust him. She takes off the necklace and walks away. Later that night, when Nikki returns to his hotel, he finds Jess waiting for him. Overcome with emotion, she breaks down in tears and embraces him. Without saying a word, they reconnect, and the night carries them through until morning. Not long after, Owens, Garriga's right-hand man, calls to say he is standing right outside Nikki's hotel room. Panic hits instantly. Jess is rushed into hiding, and luckily, Owens never notices her.
That is a messy bed.
Are we done?
Soon after that, McEwen officially agrees to buy the EXR fuel design data, and Nikki receives 3 million euros in cash. But here's the real twist. What Nikki sold was not fake data at all. It was the real EXR, and he does not stop there. Nikki also sells the same data to multiple car owners, stacking up an enormous profit that reaches a total of 27 million euros. Just as Nikki plans to escape with all that money alongside Jess, Garriga uncovers the betrayal. Furious, he orders his men to capture both Nikki and Jess. They are taken and held captive, and Garriga completely loses control. Nikki did not just scam him. He hacked into Garriga's secure server, stole the real EXR data, and sold it to everyone in the industry. Owens joins in, beating Nikki as they demand to know how he managed to get the original data. Under pressure, Nikki claims that he broke into Garriga's server with help from his friend Farhad. Garriga refuses to believe it. His system is heavily protected, and the passwords change every 15 minutes. As Jess continues to be tortured, Nikki finally shifts the blame onto her. He claims that Jess is the key. When Nikki discovered her connection to Garriga, he supposedly used her by hiding a code-breaking device inside her necklace. All he needed was for Jess to be near Garriga so he could access the server and steal the EXR designs. Nikki begs for Jess to be released, insisting she was only used and had nothing to do with the plan. Jess then reveals the truth. She was never Garriga's lover. Their relationship was shallow, limited to casual dates and playful flirting. Whenever Garriga tried to push things further, she always found excuses to refuse. Her real goal was simple. She wanted Garriga's Piguet Emperador watch. An argument erupts, and without warning, Owens shoots Nikki.
The phone.
What the fuck are you doing?
Garriga's men panic. Afraid of becoming suspects in a murder, they flee the scene. Jess breaks down as she watches Nikki slipping closer to death. She begs him to hold on, overwhelmed by how deeply she loves him. Just as Nikki appears to stop breathing, Owens suddenly steps in with medical equipment and begins saving his life. That is when the truth comes out. For the past 3 years, Owens has only been pretending to work for Garriga. In reality, he has been planning this massive con together with Nikki all along. It becomes clear that Jess never hacked any server. Owens was the one who helped Nikki do it. There was never any device hidden in a necklace. The entire story was a lie. Even the shooting was calculated. Owens fired at a non-vital area, carefully avoiding major arteries. Once everything is ready, Owens quickly drains blood from Nikki's lungs, and Nikki regains consciousness. Owens is visibly shaken, knowing the gunshot could have killed Nikki if anything had gone wrong. That is when Jess finally realizes the truth. Owens is actually Nikki's biological father. The giveaway is when Owens calls Nikki by his childhood nickname. His real name is Bucky. This is what the final plan really meant. The panic button that was mentioned earlier in the story. It was designed to save them when everything collapsed. And it also means that years ago, Nikki's father never truly killed his own father. He was saving him. The three of them escape by stealing a car and rushing to the nearest hospital so Nikki can get proper treatment. Once they arrive, Owens reminds them that their line of work is filled with danger and constant risk. If they want to survive, they can never let their guard down. In the end, Owens takes control of all the money earned from selling the EXR data, while Jess stays by Nikki's side and gets him into the hospital. The film closes with Nikki and Jess back together, their relationship finally healed. They are in love again, and Jess also walks away with Garriga's incredibly valuable watch. So the moral of the story is never help your ex for 1 minute, because it can somehow turn into fake deaths, billion-dollar bets, and surprise family reunions.